£20,000 worth of prize money for winning a sim racing series and the 2020 mini challenge. We're going to be chatting about this and much, much more with the 2019 Renault Clio Cup runner-up, Max Coates. So Max, thank you very much for coming on and welcome to Is It Fast? It's a very strange situation we find ourselves in, but we weren't always stuck inside of our houses. And actually I've found a little list of quite a lot of the racing that you've been involved in over the years. And I just wondered if anyone had ever done this to you in an awkward way. And this is verbatim from your own website.
Oh dear. I wrote all this as well.
It's a very impressive list. So Michelin Ginetta GT4 Super Cup, Porsche Carrera Cup of Great Britain, the British Touring Cars, whatever that is, the something or other, the Brit Car Endurance Championship, the Hankook 24-hour series, the Citroen Trade Team C1 Challenge, British Rallycross, Race of Remembrance, Renault UK Clio Cup International Finale, which I'm led to believe is in France.
That was the best I've ever heard anybody say it, so well done.
You're very welcome. I try my best. And then obviously on to where you are now, which is in a mini. Quite a long list of racing. Why are you in the racing and motorsport game?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we when I say we, I think everybody kind of says we. I always say we because there's not just me that's kind of involved in this little racing world that goes on with myself. There's a number of other people, so collective term of we. But I started off in Ginetta Juniors essentially because I got frustrated with karting. We did a season where we had more DNFs than we had finishes, and essentially I just went, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Sorry, I'll turn the phone on silent. Very good. That's Wish just asking if I want to order another £15 of stuff. So I started on the Ginetta Junior front when essentially karting wasn't really doing it for me anymore. On the basis that if we could get somebody to fund the car, we could afford the running costs to be about the same as what we could do in Ginetta Juniors. In karting if we ran it ourselves. And the rest has kind of followed from there. Naturally, there was the Ginetta progression and route. So that was where we tried to follow after Ginetta Juniors. So that came to G50s. If we had all afternoon, I'm sure I could go through the whole story of how the last sort of 10 years has mapped itself out in terms of different championships and different drives. But essentially, circumstances has just changed the path along the way to all sorts of different places. I started out with Ginetta Juniors in the car world, Ginetta G50s. We couldn't complete a full season budget-wise, so we turned to trying to do G55s with a vision to trying to do that the following year. I think after that was the year that I started to do some work with HHC on a media front, which then meant I got put in touch with somebody for a Porsche drive. I was chatting away in a media suite, took that on, did that. Then did more Ginetta Super Cup stuff later that year. That led to British Touring Cars the year after. That then led to Clio Cup, and here we are. In all honesty, people, I think, do kind of go, why did he do that one-off round? What was the point? What's the point in spending all that money to try and do one round? But I have absolutely no doubt that if I hadn't have done the odd round of Ginetta Super Cup, I wouldn't have got the opportunity to do Porsches, and I wouldn't have got then the opportunity to do Ginettas again, or the opportunity to do touring cars. And certainly if I hadn't done touring cars, I would not have done Clio Cup, and I would not be sat here having a chat with you right now, 100%.
It's funny how small decisions, well, I suppose large decisions, but how singular decisions, I guess, can make quite a massive difference to a career, to a series, to a race. When you look back on all the different series that you've taken part in, which is quite a few, do you think that it is the fact that you jumped behind the wheel of in that Super Cup series that really did get you to where you are now?
I think if I hadn't have done Ginetta Juniors in the first place, none of this would have started. And to be honest, like I was all right in karting. I wasn't anything amazingly special. I was okay. I finished around 20th in national championships. I was all right. I was quite good, but I wasn't on a path to Formula One, if you see what I mean. And then we did Ginetta Juniors, and I think people realised the love and passion that I had for motorsport, but not only myself, but my dad and my family. And then there's other people that have been connected into that along the way, which have kind of brought us to where we are. So, but yeah, I definitely think there's a link between each of the races that I've done and how essentially that's then followed on to the next thing. And yeah, it's all just a bit crazy how it kind of works out, and I still don't quite understand it in some ways. It just sort of happens, and that's awesome.
You talk about all those decisions that have got you to that point now. So talking about the here and now, I guess to a certain extent, you were due to be on track in the mini challenge series, but you are also kind of on track at the minute in the virtual world, in the sim racing world that we all are suddenly inhabiting and sharing with IndyCar drivers. E-racing and sim racing. How have you been finding that, and what have you got going on in your sim world at the moment?
It's a challenge, that is for sure. It is a bit different to real world. There's a number of things that are just different. Some things are better, some things are worse. But yeah, all in all, I think the lads that have spent loads of time on simulators are just insanely good at simulators. I did a bit of testing last night for the Power Max series, and I think I'm doing exactly the same as the guy who's half a second quicker than me, but I've no idea how he's half a second quicker than me around Brands Indy. I'm in the same gears, I brake at the same points, I turn at the same places, I get the power at the same points, and he's half a second quicker. I've just no idea how it's fixed setup. There's nothing in setup. Sometimes you just got to go, you know what, these lads are really quite good, so fair play to them. But yeah, in terms of what I'm doing on the sim, so there's the Power Max series, which is kind of the main thing probably at the moment. So that's in TCR cars and iRacing. I'm also doing some fun Assetto Corsa things with Virtual Reality Racing Club, who are one of my partners. So that's good fun, but maybe a little bit less serious, a bit more just having a laugh. I've done a few one-off events with a team called Year One Racing. So I did the virtual 24 hours of the Nürburgring, which was great fun. So
yes, saw that. You did very well.
Yeah, we finished second in our split, so that was brilliant. I think when lockdown happened, I kind of went, I've got a simulator. If I could learn the Nürburgring, I think that would be quite a big tick in lockdown. So do I feel like I know it like the back of my hand? No. But do I feel like I know where I'm going? Yeah. So that's definitely been good. And then I've been very much involved in helping to bring the Mini Challenge series to fruition. So yeah, there's been the last probably 3 weeks, more or less, solid full time, just trying to get that together. So been busy.
Yeah, I thought you and the guys did insanely well to come second there. That was and a really enjoyable race. In fact, anybody watching should go back and watch it again. It was really, really good.
It's mad because we had not tested anywhere near enough. So there's two of us, me and Brad Burns. We literally got our licenses to be able to do it. It's like how iRacing works. The night before the race, I think I certainly hadn't done a lap without crashing before the race at all. Brad was probably similar. I think we'd probably completed less than a lap in the dark, and both of our first stints were at night. So we were testing during the race, whilst the race was on, in like another server, if you like, to try and work out what we needed to do at night. And that's where it's just different to the real world. But yeah, it was really cool.
Do you think your experiences with sim racing in this period of time, do you think that'll have an impact on how you prepare for races and what you do when kind of things go back to normal-ish?
I think I've certainly started to look at how we can use it for the Mini Challenge. And I'm also kind of looking at, during the lockdown, once I kind of get to a point where I can't have time to, really looking at how I prepare for a race meeting, and try to make that a much more tried and tested process. So yeah, I think it would be beneficial. How beneficial and how much it comes back to the real world there's so many variables really.
Of course, at some point, all being well, everyone's going to head back to a track in real life. And you've taken on a new challenge for 2020. How are you feeling, and what do you think you're going to be up to?
Yeah, so I've driven the car a few times now. We went out to Spain just after the Autosport show. Did 2.5 days there, which was an amazing experience. I've never done pre-season testing before, so certainly not in Spain. Done a little bit of pre-season testing, but not to that extent. So that was ace. And after that, I would say I was feeling really quite confident. We had a difficult test at Donington. The track was just too busy, and we didn't really get any laps in that were representative of where we wanted to be. And then we had another test at Brands Hatch, which was much better. So yeah, I think after that we were bang on the pace that everybody was doing last year in Mini Challenge. Probably not up on it, but certainly matching it. And within kind of half a tenth of somebody else on the same day who's been running at the front. So at that point we still had kind of like a week and a bit to go before the start of the season. So there was still the odd thing that needed just to be perfected on the car before the start. So I think that once that's done, we're certainly going to be there or thereabouts. That's my feeling. And I think as time goes on, hopefully I'll work out how we can be there, sort of jumping up as much as we can.
I wonder how much this disruption has gotten into people's heads. How much it's impacted their readiness for the season. And you never know, that could well be a differentiating factor. But I don't know, I guess you can only talk about how you feel right now and how it's impacted your preparedness.
I mean, I'm the type of driver who likes to build up. I don't particularly go into FP1, do 2 out laps, and then put in my best lap of the weekend. That's never really how I've operated. I think probably because I'm quite budget conscious, and I'd rather build up to my ultimate pace than just go out and potentially risk everything. But by the same token, I am, with kind of the series that I've done, I'm used to having quite big breaks between racing, although not really over the last sort of 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I have experienced what it's like to just have 10 or 11 months out of a car and then be going, okay, go and race in British touring cars. Good luck. So yeah, I sort of have an idea what that's like. And the honest thing is, it's scary the first time you go back out and you've got to recalibrate your mind from sitting still in a simulator and going, oh, that wall, reset, to, bloody hell, that wall comes up actually quite fast. It scares me a little bit. So yeah, you have got to sort of reprogram and just get used to the speed again. But I think once that comes, it's okay.
A couple of series have started to publish what their season might now look like in terms of the schedule. Do you want to share where you think you might actually hit a track for the first time, albeit with fans or not?
Obviously, the Mini Challenge is following the same TOCA calendar that the British Touring Cars does. So at the moment, I would have to say August. As Mini Challenge, we don't have a calendar published yet. I think that maybe by the time we get to Friday and this goes out, that may have changed. I know that the plan was to put out a calendar once Anthony, who runs Mini Challenge, had kind of got a bit of feedback from all the drivers as to what they wanted to do. I'm fairly confident that we won't be doing all 4 events in August. I know we won't be going to Thruxton. That's as much as I know. You can't ask everyone who's just had 6 months off work to then have another 2.5 months off work because they want to go racing. It's just not feasible. So we will have to take some breaks. Yeah, I don't think any calendar that anybody publishes is going to suit everybody 100%. So you just kind of got to go with what you feel is best and make the most of it.
Well, this is it. Motorsport, as much as we all enjoy it, it's it pales into insignificance compared to what's happening out there at the moment. If we can get back to something that gives us a bit of relief and a bit of enjoyment, then fantastic. 2020, it's interrupted. I think it's fair to say, but you find yourself in the mini challenge, which is excellent. Away from that, has this disrupted? If you had one eye on 2021, has this changed your plans for slightly further down kind of your racing route?
I don't know is the honest answer at the moment. I don't think it's helped. Clearly, I'm somebody who wants to race in British touring cars. To do that, I need to raise a significant amount of money. Certainly several hundred thousands of pounds. And that is not going to have been made any easier by coronavirus. I had wanted to move to British touring cars for 2020. Clearly that wasn't doable. Seemed close a few times, but didn't come together. It was the plan for 2021. We'd not necessarily started on negotiations or anything with that at this point. But I don't really know where 2021 will end up leading us. It may be that we need to take another year before we can get there. Just not necessarily from my point of view on a driving front, just purely on a what's happened economically to make it all happen.
Excellent. Yeah. Max, thank you very, very much for joining us here on Is It Fast in our lockdown series. And yeah, I hope you get back on a real track very, very soon. But if I don't speak to you before you're back behind the wheel of the Mini, best of luck in the 2020 season.
Thanks very much. I'm sure we'll see you at a track soon.
Thank you very much once again to Max for joining us here on Is It Fast. Remember to follow all of his racing, virtual or otherwise, on all of his social media channels. Don't forget to follow Is It Fast on your social media platform of choice for more car reviews, interviews and motorsport news.